Another week, another warm week. We actually had a little bit of cooler temps coming through right now. It's Sunday. You know, we're starting to get towards later in July. These fish are definitely in their summer patterns. They're on the deep weed lines. I had a great conversation the other day at a boat launch with the guy flipping heavy milfoil. So it's either deep weed lines, deep cool water, or in some of those thick cover spots with hard bottom. We're going to go over a few situational things going on right now, whether it be patterning where the fish are and what to throw at them. For one, the weed line. Not all deep weed lines are created equal. You can get in a weed line and fish all day around the entire lake, and you may not catch anything unless you start to focus in on changes, whether it's inside turns, directional changes. Look at a lake map. Look for those big underwater points. Get on the weed lines on those areas. Maybe turn, areas where it turns, that sort of stuff. Look for things that are different on the weed line. Don't just go to the first weed line you see and fish it for 300 yards. I get that question a lot. A lot of messages came into Facebook saying, how do you fish a weed line? What am I looking for? Look for something different. If you know there's hard bottom, rock, or gravel, that's really important. If you know there's an inside turn or a deep point, that's important. Maybe a weed line that's up against some of the steepest, deepest water breaks, that could be important. So take a look at a lake map. Hop on navionics.com, look at their structure, go to the lake you're going to fish, and do a little homework ahead of time. So don't just look at all weed lines the same. Find something different and fish those spots. So some lures I'm throwing at these fish, whether it be bass, pike, walleyes, whatever. There's a few tactics that come into play. One, throwing crankbaits. Crankbaits have been really hot right now. Whether you're going to troll them for big pike on the outside weed line, whether you're going to cast for bass, those sorts of things. I've been deploying baits like the DT16 and DT20 from Rapala. Dives to 16 feet, dives to 20 feet. The difference between the two baits is the 20 is going to have a little weight built into the front. You can cast and retrieve this bait. On a long cast, this will dive down 15, 16, 17 feet of water. I use a really thin braid, a little non-traditional. A lot of anglers will use a fluorocarbon for their crankbaits. I use a very thin braid. I feel like it dives down a little deeper. I can feel more. I can sense when there's weeds. I can rip it through there a little bit. It's all in personal preference. So the Dive 2 series, that 16, 20-foot option is great for casting. The 10 and 14 have been really good for trolling on the weed lines. And these are catching bass, they're catching pike, they're catching walleyes. Muskies are gobbling these up. A very good all-purpose bait. Those big fish are feeding on sunfish and crappies exactly that size. So I use the sunfish pattern. I use the hot mustard pattern. That's the hot mustard. You have ones that look just like sunfish or bluegills. Those patterns seem to be the best ticket for me right now in the metro, mainly because those fish are feeding on those type of forage. Next, we've all talked about drop shotting. Drop shotting has been very hot lately. It's been a very easy approach. We've been using like phenom worms and shaker worms. I've actually been drop shotting wacky rigs lately. That's been going really well. The fish have been eating the wacky rig up shallow, but with these warmer temperatures, they're sliding out deeper. So I'm just drop shotting. You got that 1/8 ounce weight on there. It could be a different size weight depending on how deep you're going to fish and wind conditions. And I'm actually just drop shotting a wacky rig. Very simple, easy way to fish those big bass. You can cover a lot of water and be very effective fishing the wacky rig deep. So try drop shotting a wacky rig if you haven't. Very easy way to use, very easy way to rig. For the panfish, I've turned towards one of my more fun approaches for chasing bluegills and crappies, and you also catch the rogue bass, walleye, pike, you name it on these, is just small spinners. This is just a small little spinner bait, nothing much to it. I got just a little 2-inch Mr. Twister tail on the end of that, and that's just going to cover water. That's going to pull through the weeds. That's going to work on the weed lines. That's going to work around docks. Great search lure this time of year for big bluegills and crappies. You can fish this in deep water. You don't have to cast and retrieve it. You pitch it on the weed line, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a slow retrieve. You can get those fish out deep, and if you have to, upsize a little bit. So the ever popular Johnson beetle spin, same concept, just a spinner, little tiny spinner bait. This will catch you everything that pretty much swims right now. So if you want something for kids, something easy to fish, tie in a little spinner bait, cover water, have them cast with a spinning rod, maybe use 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pound test line. Just a slow, steady retrieve. Make sure that blade's going bum, 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 bum. That's the way you fish those. Very easy way to fish. So this time of year is a great chance to get out. The weather's comfortable. The first part of the day has been the best fishing for the bigger bass. The 6 a.m. to about 10 a.m. Those first 3, 4, 5 hours of sun. Right in the middle of the day, some of the fishing gets tough, especially with the high suns and stagnant weather, to where the fish move out deep. You got to follow them deep. You got to be patient. And then when the sun starts to drop again, the bite picks up. So if you're asking me what's the best time to fish right now, get up there. Earlier bird gets the worm. Get there when the sun comes up and fish the first 3, 4 hours a day if you want the best activity. However, When's the best time to fish? Whenever you can get out there, really. So if you can't fish till noon, that's fine too. Get out there, chase some fish, have some fun. A lot of anglers are still sinking live bait, whether it be leeches, minnows, night crawlers, on Lindy rigs, on weed lines. They're catching a lot of fish. Just stay active. If you're not getting bit in an area after 15, 20 minutes, move. The fish are schooling right now, and they are active. So try and stay on the active fish. So if you're not getting a bite after a period of time over a certain piece of structure, move to a different spot. So have fun out there. We got some more warm weather coming. I think we saw some 80s again later this week. You should have a lot of fun. Next time we talk to you, we're going to be into the August month already. So July is going to be behind us, and we're getting into the really heat of the summer, and then we're going to start winding down towards fall patterns before you know it. So get out there, have fun, enjoy your summer, and we'll catch you next week.